One day before the deadline for internal transfer applications, I discovered a request filed in my name. I was to be transferred to a branch office 1,000 miles away. The applicant listed was Julia Sterling, my corporate mentor and my girlfriend. A chill ran down my spine. My fingers trembled as I dialed her number. Her voice was dismissive. "Oh, Gavin submitted that. He said he was just playing a joke on you. Just log in and cancel it yourself." Gavin, the intern who had forced his way under Julia's wing, calling her mentor with a sickening sweetness. I held the phone, silent for a full minute. I realized then that the career I had built with blood, sweat, and tears over 5 years was nothing more than a prop for someone's amusement. I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I simply packed my things and left for the branch office on schedule. When the HR system notification popped up, I was in the middle of writing a quarterly project review. Transfer application from Mr. Caleb Quinn has passed initial review. Please confirm or withdraw by 1800 hours tomorrow. My name is Caleb Quinn. The transfer was from the core project team at NYC headquarters to the Oak Haven branch. Oak Haven, a third-tier city in the Rust Belt that I had only ever heard of in weather forecasts, buried in the mountains 2 states away. I clicked on the application details. In the applicant field, I saw a familiar name, Julia Sterling. She was my girlfriend of 5 years. She was also my boss, the woman who took me from a fresh-faced grad and molded me into a project lead. I stared at that name for a long time, until my eyes burned. The office was quiet, save for the rhythmic clacking of keyboards and the hum of the central AC. But in my ears, there was a buzzing sound like a swarm of hornets. I took out my phone and called her. It rang for a long time before she picked up. The background was noisy. She was out somewhere. "Hey, Caleb, I'm at dinner with a client. Is it urgent?" Julia's voice was professional as always, laced with a detachment I hadn't noticed before. I gripped the phone, my knuckles turning white. I saw a transfer application. My voice was calm, surprisingly so. "To the Oak Haven branch. You're listed as the applicant." Silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then, I heard a light laugh, faint, like a feather skimming water. "Oh, that," she said breezily. "Gavin submitted it for me. He said he wanted to play a prank on you. Lighten the mood. The pressure on the project has been intense lately." Gavin Jones, the intern who had joined 3 months ago through family connections. For some reason, he had an obsessive adoration for Julia, constantly calling her Ms. Julia and boss, fawning over her in a way that made my skin crawl. Julia claimed he was annoying, but she seemed to enjoy the pedestal he put her on. "Just go into the back end and cancel it," Julia said, a hint of impatience creeping in. "I'm busy here, gotta go." Click, click, click. Listening to the dial tone, I sat frozen in my cubicle for a full minute. My hands and feet were ice cold. It turned out that the career I had walked on eggshells to build, working late every night just to gain a foothold, was just a joke to them. It turned out that 5 years of living together, of supporting each other, was fragile enough to be shattered by an intern's prank. I didn't call back. I didn't send a text demanding an explanation. I just silently opened the application page and stared at the bright red confirm button. The light from the screen reflected on my face. I could see my own bloodless expression in the dark glass. I took a deep breath and clicked confirm instead of withdraw. Then I shut down my computer and started packing. The pothose plan on my desk, which I'd kept alive for 3 years. The stash of emergency meds in my drawer, antacid for the stress, ibuprofen for the headaches, and a project management handbook, worn at the edges, filled with handwritten notes Julia and I had made together. I placed them into a cardboard box, one by one. My movements were slow, gentle, like I was performing a silent funeral rite. The next day, I went to work as usual. The atmosphere in the office was weird. Colleagues avoided eye contact as they passed my desk, then huddled in the break room to whisper. I guess the news of my transfer had already leaked. Julia and Gavin arrived together. Gavin was carrying Julia's designer bag and a hot latte, a bright, innocent smile plastered on his face. When Julia saw the packed box on my desk, she froze. Her brow furrowed slightly, but she quickly smoothed it out, walking over to me with a relaxed tone. "Why are you actually packing? You have such a temper. I told you it was a joke. Go cancel it." Her voice wasn't loud, but it was pitched perfectly for the eavesdropping colleagues to hear. Gavin leaned in, looking innocent and slightly ingratiating. "Caleb, man, I am sorry. I just wanted to joke around with you and Ms. Julia. I didn't think you'd take it seriously. You're a big guy. Don't hold a grudge against me." As he spoke, he reached out to take things out of my box. I raised my hand and blocked him. I looked at Julia. Her face held that familiar confidence, mixed with a charity-like tolerance. She was certain I couldn't leave her, couldn't leave the career path she had paved for me. She was waiting for me to fold to walk down the stairs she had graciously lowered for me, just like always. I smiled. It was a faint smile. It's fine. I think it's a good move, I said. I've been at HQ too long. Going to a branch office for some seasoning isn't bad. I hear the scenery in Oak Haven is nice. The smile on Julia's face stiffened. Gavin froze, his hand hovering in midair. The air around us seemed to solidify. I didn't look at them again. I picked up the box and walked toward HR. Behind me, I could feel Julia's gaze like two needles stabbing into my back. I didn't turn around. During the exit interview, the HR director looked at me with pity. Caleb, have you really thought this through? Oak Haven is. The situation there is complicated. Once you go, it's hard to come back. I nodded. I've thought it through. Thanks for the concern, Marcus. He sighed, said no more, and stamped the papers. When I walked out of the office building holding my box, the afternoon sun was perfect. I sent a text to Julia. I'm leaving. You keep the apartment. I don't have much stuff there. I'll pick it up when I have time. No accusations, no questions. Just a status report, like I was going on a business trip. My phone vibrated quickly. It was Julia. Caleb, stop acting out. Come back now, and I can pretend nothing happened. I looked at the message, deleted it, and blocked her number. 5 years of a relationship, summarized by her as acting out. In her heart, all my principles and dignity were just me throwing a tantrum. I hailed an Uber and went straight to JFK. Goodbye to the city I fought for 5 years to conquer. Goodbye, Julia. This joke wasn't funny at all, but I was taking the punchline. When the plane landed in Oak Haven, the sky was already dark. A wave of humid, warm air hit me, smelling of wet earth and wildflowers. A stark contrast to the dry, recycled air of the steel jungle back at HQ. The person the branch sent to pick me up was a girl who looked a few years younger than me. She was holding a sign with my name scrawled crookedly on it. Hi, are you Manager Quinn? Caleb Quinn? I'm Sadie York, branch admin. Seeing me, her eyes lit up, revealing small dimples. Caleb. I extended my hand. She shook it briefly, then efficiently took my suitcase. Manager Quinn, tough trip. The company housing is ready. I'll take you there. The car wove through the night. The streetlights were dim yellow. The roads were lined with low residential houses and dense oak trees. Everything here exuded a leisurely, almost lazy vibe. How's the company doing lately? I asked tentatively. Sadie drove without looking away from the road, her tone flat. Same as always. Not dead, not alive. That description was blunt. The previous manager, Mr. Lee, left last month. Stayed 6 months. Said he couldn't handle the climate. Requested a transfer back. She paused, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. How long? Do you plan to stay? I heard the skepticism and mistrust in her voice. It made sense. A guy exile from the core department at HQ was, in their eyes, likely just another passing tourist. We'll see, I said, dodging the question. The housing was in an old complex near the office. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. The furniture and appliances were dated, but it was spotless. Manager Quinn, get some rest. I'll pick you up tomorrow to show you the office. Sadie handed me the keys. Call me if you need anything. After she left, I stood alone in the empty living room. Looking out the window, I could see scattered lights in the distance and the vague silhouette of the mountains. There was none of the bustle or noise of NYC. It was quiet enough to hear my own heartbeat. I opened my suitcase and took out the old project management handbook. On the first page was Julia's elegant handwriting. To Caleb. May we conquer the world together. I stared at the words for a moment. Then I tore the page out, crumpled it into a ball, and threw in the trash. From today on, I was just Caleb. A Caleb who was starting over in Oak Haven. The so-called branch office was actually a 3-story brick building with peeling paint. The staff was small. Counting Sadie and me, there were only 7 people. When they saw me, their expressions varied. Curiosity, scrutiny, but mostly a numb indifference. Sadie introduced me around. I tried to memorize every name and role. Wallace from tech, looking profound with hair like a bird's nest. Zach from marketing, who looked sharp but had slippery eyes. And 2 interns fresh out of college, timid, afraid to make eye contact. This was my new team, a group that looked demoralized, like a tray of loose sand. My office was on the 2nd floor. A desk, a chair, and a dusty bookshelf. Sadie made me a cup of tea. The leaves drifted aimlessly in the cup. Manager Quinn, any plans? She asked directly. I looked at her. This girl, who looked like the girl next door, had a sharpness in her eyes that belied her age. No rush, I said. I want to see all the past project files and financial reports. Sadie raised an eyebrow, seemingly surprised. They're in the archives. But most of them are losses. It doesn't matter, I said. I want to see how we lost money. For the next 3 days, I locked myself in the archives. The documents were piled like mountains, smelling of mold and dust. I read them one by one, from the initial business plan to every failed project report, down to the ledger of expenses. Sadie was right. This place was a mess. Vague business direction, chaotic management, low efficiency. The funds allocated by HQ every year were mostly wasted on nonsense. Any ambitious manager seeing this would probably turn around and run. But in this pile of waste paper, I found something different. In the corner, inside an old file box, I found a project proposal marked terminated. The title was Project Heritage. The content was about integrating local Oak Haven intangible cultural heritage resources, like hickory weaving, traditional quilting, and ancient tea curing, and using modern design and internet channels to build a new lifestyle brand. The proposal was incredibly detailed. From market research to product planning to marketing strategy, it was professional grade. But in the end, it was vetoed by the manager at the time for being capital-intensive, long ROI, and inconsistent with short-term profit goals. The signature on the proposal was Sadie York. I took the proposal and walked out of the archives. Sadie was at her desk processing expense reports. Seeing the file in my hand, her expression shifted. "Manager Quinn, is that Project Heritage? I want to talk to you about it." I placed the proposal on her desk. She fell silent, head down, fingers drumming unconsciously on the table. "That plan is dead," she said after a long while, her voice muffled. "Why?" "Because nobody believes in it," she said. "Nobody believes you can make money off this old-fashioned stuff. They just want quick cash. They just want to hit HQ's KPIs." I looked at her. In her eyes, I saw a flash of fire, the flame of an ideal that reality had tried to extinguish. "I believe in it," I said. Sadie snapped her head up, looking at me in disbelief. "Manager Quinn, I've read the proposal. It's incredibly valuable," I said, enunciating every word. Oak Haven's greatest advantage isn't what HQ thinks it is. It's exactly what they look down on. These centuries of cultural depth. We don't lack resources. We just haven't found the right way to open the door. My voice wasn't loud, but in the quiet office, it carried clearly. Wallace in tech, Zach in marketing, and the two interns stopped their work and looked over. "I've decided to reboot Project Heritage," I announced. "This will be the core business direction for the Oak Haven branch moving forward." Dead silence in the office. Wallace adjusted his glasses and was the first to speak. "Manager Quinn, not to pour cold water on you, but people have thought of this before. It doesn't work. Those old artisans are stubborn as mules. They won't listen to you. And doing cultural creative products takes huge upfront investment. The money in our accounts won't last a month." Zach chimed in. "Yeah, boss. Live streaming and drop shipping are hot right now. Just find some influencers to sell local snacks, quick money. This culture stuff, it's too abstract." Their reaction was expected. A group used to failure and comfort is hard to ignite. I didn't argue with them. I just looked at Sadie. "What about you?" I asked. "Do you still want to do it?" Sadie's lips were pressed into a tight line, her chest rising and falling slightly. She looked at me, then at the yellowing proposal on the desk. Finally, as if making a massive decision, she nodded firmly. "I'll do it." "Good," I smiled. "From now on, you're the project manager for Project Heritage. I'm giving you full authority. Pick whoever you want for your team. I'll figure out the budget." My words hit the calm surface of the office like a boulder. Everyone was stunned. They probably didn't expect the new exile to light such a massive fire right out of the gate. They didn't know that for 5 years at HQ, my specialty was complex resource integration and project incubation. This seemingly impossible task, to me, was full of opportunity. And I needed an opportunity, a chance to shut the mouths of everyone who had looked down on me. Beginnings are always the hardest. The first hurdle for rebooting Project Heritage was money. The liquid capital in the branch's account was pitiful, barely enough for next quarter's rent. I made a list of every sellable asset in the office, threw them on eBay, including the half-dead office plants, and then drafted a detailed budget and project plan to send to my direct superior at HQ, Regional Director Marcus Hale. Marcus called back quickly, his tone full of shock. "Caleb, what are you doing? Project Heritage? I remember that thing was killed ages ago. Why are you digging it up?" "Marcus, I believe this project has massive potential. The execution was just wrong before," I explained patiently. "Potential? Caleb, have you gone crazy in the mountains? What potential does a dump like that have? Let me tell you, keep your head down and don't cause trouble. HQ's strategy is contraction. We aren't approving a dime for your pipe dreams." He hung up. I held the phone, unsurprised. Expecting a blood transfusion from HQ was a fantasy. We had to walk this road alone. For the next week, I took Sadie and we drove to almost every village and settlement around Oak Haven. We visited the old artisans living deep in the hollows. Old Man Miller, the hickory weaver, was as stubborn as a bull. When he saw us, he grabbed a broom to chase us off. Go on, get. You city folk just want to use our ancestors' craft as a gimmick to scam people. We didn't leave. We waited on his porch. He ate. We watched. He wove baskets. We watched. On the third day, he finally cracked and threw us 2 small camp stools. If you're going to watch, sit down. Stop blocking the view. Sadie and I exchanged a smile. Granny June, who did waxed eye quilting, had bad eyes but hands that worked miracles. She didn't trust us. She thought we were con artists. Sadie didn't say a word, just pulled up a stool and sat next to her, helping her thread needles, keeping her company all afternoon. Granny June's daughter worked out of state and rarely came back. Sadie's presence gave her a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. When we left, Granny June took Sadie's hand and gave her a piece of hand-dyed indigo cloth. Child, you're a good person. We used the clumsiest method, patience and sincerity, to chip away at the ice around these artisans' hearts. I told them we weren't using them. We want a partnership. We would bring in top designers to modernize the products while keeping the traditional core. We would use the internet to sell their work to the world. And we would put a portion of the profits into a foundation to preserve their crafts. At first, no one believed me. But my eyes, my attitude, and Sadie's sincerity made them waver. A month later, we signed our first batch of cooperation agreements. We hadn't spent a dime. We did it with our mouths, our legs, and burning hearts. The rest of the team watched me and Sadie leave early and return late every day, covered in mud. Their eyes went from mockery to curiosity, and finally, to a sliver of respect. Wallace from Tech voluntarily built us a simple product showcase website. Zach from marketing started researching the algorithms for Pinterest and TikTok. The 2 interns became our shadows, fetching coffee, organizing files, full of energy. The scattered sand was slowly coming together. Meanwhile, 1,000 miles away at headquarters, a new project managed by Julia and Gavin ran into a catastrophic problem. It was an online education platform the company had high hopes for. Gavin, using his family connections, had brought in a guru to be the face of the brand. Turns out, the so-called guru was exposed for academic fraud. Before the platform even launched, it was buried in bad press. Investors pulled out, the project stalled. Julia, as the lead, was named and shamed by the chairman in a board meeting. She was frantic, working until dawn every day. One late night, possessed by some ghost of the past, she unblocked my number and called me. When I picked up, she seemed to forget what she wanted to say. Caleb. She said my name, her voice carrying a fatigue and fragility she usually hid well. My side was quiet. You could hear the crickets outside the window. Ms. Sterling, is there an issue? My voice was calm, strictly business. Julia froze. In 5 years, I had never used that tone with her. I just wanted to ask, how are you? Doing in Oak Haven? She asked dryly. Great. Air is clean, colleagues are good, I said. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. I have to wake up early to visit a team master. Wait, she shouted urgently. The project review report you wrote for the old education contract. Can you send me a copy? We're in a bit of trouble here. I stayed silent. That project was one we had done together. She had backups of everything. She was just used to relying on me, used to finding solutions through me. Apologies, Ms. Sterling, I said. I destroyed all HQ-related files per company regulation upon transfer, and I'm overseeing branch business now. I'm not up to speed on HQ projects. Caleb, do you have to be like this? Her voice finally cracked with emotion. Do we have to be this cold to each other? Ms. Sterling, I cut her off. You said it yourself. It was a joke. Now, the joke is over. I hung up, listening to the dial tone. Alone in her empty office, Julia felt panic for the first time. She realized that the man she thought was in her pocket, the man she could control at will, had truly disappeared from her world. And Gavin, after blowing up the project, instead of taking responsibility, he shoved the blame onto Julia. Julia, you can't blame me. You signed off on the guru. I'm just an intern. What do I know? Looking at his self-righteous face, Julia realized for the first time just how stupid her joke had been. 3 months later, the first batch of Heritage Initiative products officially launched. The flagship was a tea canister woven from Oak Haven's unique golden hickory, designed with a modern minimalist aesthetic but using traditional mortise and tenon structure. Inside was hand-roasted, first flush mountain tea that Sadie and I had begged an 80-year-old master to create. We had no money for a massive ad campaign. We just posted short videos of the production process on TikTok and Instagram. The videos showed the wrinkled hands of the artisan flying between bamboo strips, the mist-shrouded tea mountains after the rain, and Sadie, facing the camera, earnestly explaining every step, her eyes shining with light. We named the product Deep Cloud. Price, $149.99 a box. Wallace and Zach thought I was insane. Boss, that's so expensive. Who's gonna buy that? I didn't speak, just stared at the computer screen. Day 1, 0 sales. Day 2, 1 sale. The buyer was a designer in New York. He left a review. Haven't seen a product with this much soul in a long time. Design and craft are perfect. Support. Day 3, a food influencer saw that review, bought a box, and filmed an unboxing. In the video, he couldn't stop praising it, from the packaging to the taste of the tea. The video went viral. The Deep Cloud tea set became the new darling of the hipster luxury circle overnight. Orders flew in like snowflakes. The 500 units we had in inventory sold out in 3 days. The office went crazy. Wallace hugged his computer, babbling incoherently. Zach held his phone, watching the sales figures climb, grinning from ear to ear. The two interns picked me and Sadie up and threw us in the air. I looked at them and smiled. It was the first time I had genuinely smiled since coming to Oakhaven. We did it. Relying on ourselves, we won the first battle. When the first payout hit the account, the first thing I did was give everyone bonuses. Then I took them to the best steakhouse in town. That night, everyone got drunk. Wallace grabbed my hand, crying like a baby. Manager Quinn, I thought I was going to rot in this dump until retirement. Thank you. Thank you for making me feel like my skills aren't useless. I patted his back, feeling emotional myself. Yeah, who wants to be useless? They just lacked a chance. They lacked someone who believed in them. Sadie hadn't been drinking. She drove me back to the dorms. On the way, she suddenly spoke. Caleb, why did you come to Oakhaven? I watched the night scenery rushing backward outside the window. Someone played a joke on me, I said. Sadie glanced at me in the mirror, but didn't press. When we pulled up to the building, she stopped the car, but didn't unlock the doors immediately. Caleb, she used my first name, not manager. Whatever that joke was, I'm grateful for it. I turned to look at her. The streetlight filtered through the window, illuminating her face. Her eyes were bright, like they were tempered with starlight. Because it brought you here, she said. The success of Project Heritage was like a depth charge going off inside the corporation. A report on the explosive performance of the Oakhaven branch landed on the desk of the chairman and every executive. In 1 quarter, $3 million in sales with a 60% profit margin. The numbers shocked everyone. For context, the total output of the Oakhaven branch for the last 3 years combined wasn't even a fraction of that. Regional Director Marcus Hale was the first to call, his tone so warm he sounded like a different person. Caleb, my man, you really are my lucky charm. I knew sending you, there was a brilliant move. Listening to his shameless flattery, I felt nothing. Marcus, I need more support. Designers, operations, and capital. I cut straight to the chase. No problem. You want people, you get people. You want money, you get money. Just ask. Resources from HQ started pouring into Oakhaven. We quickly launched the second and third product lines. Indigo-dyed silk scarves, hickory lamps, barrel-aged heritage whiskey. Every product became a hit. Wilder, our brand name, went from an unknown project to a trending topic. The Oakhaven branch went from a forgotten corner to the brightest star in the group. At the end-of-year gala, the chairman personally announced a new appointment. The establishment of the Heritage and Lifestyle Division, responsible for the group's entire creative business sector. Head of division, Caleb Quinn, concurrently serving as general manager of the Oakhaven branch. This appointment meant I had gone from an exiled, marginal figure to a regional warlord with real power. Theoretically, my jurisdiction covered all related business departments, including the ones at HQ. I was now the boss of Julia's boss. When I walked back into the HQ building as the new division head, the expressions on everyone's faces were priceless. The colleagues who had once avoided me like the plague now piled on smiles, calling me Mr. Quinn left and right. I walked straight to the office that used to belong to Marcus, which was now mine. Pushing open the door, I saw someone unexpected. Julia. She was standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, her silhouette looking thin. She had lost a lot of weight, her complexion was poor, and she couldn't hide the exhaustion in her eyes. You're back, she said, her voice raspy. Yes, here for meetings. I placed my files on the desk, tone flat. She turned to look at me. Caleb, can we talk? If it's business, make an appointment with my assistant, I said. It's personal. She bit her lip, tears welling up in her eyes. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have let Gavin do that. Will you come back? Let's start over. She took a step toward me, trying to grab my hand. I took a step back, avoiding her. Julia, I looked at her, examining her with completely strange eyes for the first time. What you did wrong wasn't letting Gavin play that joke. She froze. You were wrong because you never truly respected me. Not my career and not my feelings. You enjoyed being my mentor. You enjoyed the control you had over my life. So when Gavin's so-called joke happened, you subconsciously chose to protect your sense of superiority rather than my dignity. She opened her mouth, but couldn't find a single word to refute me. Because everything I said was true. As for starting over, I smiled. There was no hate in it, only relief. There's no need. I'm actually grateful for that joke. It made me see things clearly, and it let me find a path that actually belongs to me. I walked around her and sat behind the desk. If there's nothing else, Ms. Sterling, please leave. I have a lot of work. Julia stood there, her body trembling slightly. She looked at me, the man who used to listen to her every word, whose eyes were once filled only with her. Now sitting in the seat she used to look up to, watching her with a calm, detached gaze she had never seen before. She knew she had lost me completely. The afternoon project review meeting was oppressive, like the sea before storm. I sat at the head of the table, listening to reports from various departments. When it was the turn of Julia's team, Gavin took the stage. He seemed completely unaffected by the previous scandals, still acting high and mighty. He was presenting a new influencer incubator project. The PowerPoint was flashy, but the content was hollow. After he finished, he looked at me smugly, seemingly waiting for my praise. The conference room was silent. I picked up the laser pointer and aimed it at a set of data on the screen. This user persona data. What's the source? Gavin blinked. It's from the market research firm. Which firm? I pressed. I'd have to check. He started to sweat. No need. I tossed a file onto the table. That firm was blacklisted by the industry last month for data fabrication. You're bringing me fake data to ask for a multi-million-dollar investment? Who gave you the courage? My voice wasn't loud, but every word hit like a hammer. Gavin's face turned sheet white. Julia, sitting in the audience, buried her head lower. And this, I flipped to the next page. The so-called exclusive influencers. I checked. That girl has active contracts with 3 other agencies. Did you not do even the most basic background check? Gavin couldn't speak. I turned off the projector and scanned the room. I'm announcing that this project is terminated immediately. All personnel involved in the preliminary research are suspended pending a review. I want a written explanation on my desk. My gaze finally landed on Gavin. As for you, Gavin, I said, starting tomorrow, you're transferring to the Oakhaven warehouse to manage inventory. You can come back when you've memorized the SKU codes for every single Wilder product. Gavin jerked his head up, disbelief written all over his face. Mr. Quinn, you can't do that. You're what? I cut him off, eyes cold. Here, you're just an employee who can't do his job. Accept the assignment or go to HR and resign. He looked at me, lips quivering, but ultimately didn't dare say a word. He slumped into his chair. You could hear a pin drop in the room. Everyone was shaken by my ruthless, uncompromising approach. They finally understood that the gentle, humble Caleb was dead. The man alive now was Director Quinn of Oakhaven, who didn't hesitate to kill. After the meeting, Julia intercepted me in the parking garage. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. Caleb, do you have to be this cruel? She demanded. Gavin is just a kid. You shipping him off to a warehouse. How is that different from ruining him? A kid. I looked at her, finding it laughable. We treated my career as a joke. Why didn't you say he was a kid? Julia, do you still not get it? The workplace isn't a playground. You make a mistake, you pay the price. What about you? She got agitated. Now that you have power, you can just take revenge however you want. How are you different from the people I used to despise? Revenge. I shook my head. I'm cleaning house. A team full of nepotism and opportunists can't make good products. I'm saving this company, and I'm saving you. My words stunned her. As for the difference, I stepped closer, looking straight into her eyes. The difference is, I will never treat someone else's future as a joke. With that, I ignored her, opened my car door, and got in. As I drove out of the garage, I saw Julia in the rearview mirror, standing there like a lonely statue. My phone rang. It was Sadie. Hey, meeting over. Her voice held a smile, like the spring breeze in Oakhaven. Yeah, just finished. My mood instantly lifted. Go well? Did the old guys give you trouble? No, I said. They're all very well behaved now. Good. I made chicken soup. Waiting for you to come home. Okay. I hung up, the corners of my mouth lifting unconsciously. Outside the window were the city lights of New York, brilliant but cold. I knew that 700 miles away, there was a light and a bowl of soup waiting for me. That was my home. 1 year later, the Oak Haven branch moved into a newly built office tower in the city center. The Wilder brand had become a benchmark in the domestic cultural sector, with products selling overseas. The crumbling brick building where we started had been renovated into a heritage experience center, free to the public. Wallace became the CTO, leading a 20-person tech team messing around with AI and big data daily. Zach became a regional manager, running operations across several states. The two interns, one went to the overseas division, one became my executive assistant. They all grew up fast. As for me, I spent most of my time in Oak Haven. I liked the mountains, the water, the slow pace of life. More importantly, Sadie was here. We were together. No dramatic confession, just a natural progression like water flowing into a channel. She would bring me late-night snacks when I worked overtime. I would take her driving in the mountains to see the stars when she was burned out on a new design. We were partners at work and soulmates in life. It was the company's 5th anniversary gala. After the party, Sadie and I drove home. Passing the old, rundown apartment complex where we first met, I asked her to stop. I pointed at the building. When I first came here, I lived right there. At the time, I thought my life was over. Sadie held my hand and smiled. Your new life was clearly just beginning. I looked at her. Her eyes reflected my shadow and the starry sky above. Yeah, some people, some events, are like a bad flu in the journey of life. It hits you like a landslide, leaves slowly like spinning silk, but you eventually heal. And after you heal, you find the sky is higher, the air is fresher, and your body has built up resistance. As for the person who made you sick, you don't even bother hating them anymore, because your life has turned a brand new page. And that page is written full of sunshine and hope. Story complete. Bonus scene. Sadie had recently become obsessed with succulents, filling the balcony with shelves of them. One day, I came home from work to find her sighing over a wilted plant. What's wrong now, my little plant killer? I hugged her from behind. She turned, puffing out her cheeks. It looks like it's dying. I watered it every day. I leaned in to look and almost laughed out loud. Silly, you can't water succulents every day. The roots will rot. Huh? She looked shocked. How do you know? I cleared my throat proudly. Back in the day at the HQ office, I was famous for keeping a pot hose alive. Sadie looked at me skeptically. I walked to the balcony, picked up a small spray bottle, and started demonstrating with a flourish. Look, you have to do it like this. Miss the leaves, don't pour directly into the soil. And they need sun, but not scorching sun. I was getting into it when my foot slipped. I lunged forward. Crash, I knocked over an entire row of succulents. Pots shattered everywhere. Soil and poor succulent corpses mixed together in a gruesome scene. Sadie stood there dumbfounded. I lay awkwardly on the floor, still clutching the little spray bottle. The air was silent for 3 seconds. Then, Sadie exploded into earth-shattering laughter. Ha ha, Caleb, is this how you kept your pot hose alive? Me? My persona as the cool, domineering shattered in that moment, more thoroughly than the flower pots.